This is me about to start the Pilgrim's Way Camino, and this is me about 2 hours later, but let's start at the beginning. At this point, I'd been e-biking around Europe for 10 months, visiting Christian churches from many different backgrounds along the way. I arrived in Leon in late January, where I wanted to do a winter Camino. The Camino is a network of pilgrims' ways that was established in the 9th century and has been hiked or biked by many people ever since then. So I got my pilgrim's pass, packed up my bike, and left Leon with a plan of arriving in Astorga, which should have been a relaxing 3-hour bike ride, so nothing I was really worried about. But as soon as I got out of the city, I had my first obstacle, which caused my bike to fall over. The weather had also left the path very muddy, so I was not off to a great start.
To be honest, I'm not enjoying this at all. It's been maybe an hour. The ground conditions are so annoying. I know they're not necessarily made for a bike, but it's so bumpy. I always feel like I'm about to tip over, so if this is what the whole path is like, then I'm not sure if I want to do it.
For some parts, I actually had better ground conditions and I really enjoyed my sunny bike day, but that changed pretty quickly when I started to hear a scraping sound from my wheels. Now, if there's one thing I learned, it's never to ignore a weird sound while biking. So I looked at my tires and realized that they were pretty clogged up with mud. Later, I found out that the protection of my wheels was also way too low, but I didn't know that then. So I used my hands to get most of it out, but the sound was still there, so I took the strap from one of my bags and spent such a long time carefully trying to get most of the mud off of my wheels, as I suspected that there was a little stone in there scraping against the wheel cover. The last thing I wanted that day was a flat tire. This took a long time and caused my bike to fall over again, but eventually I was able to move on. I'm so glad I didn't wear headphones while biking because I wouldn't have heard one of my bags falling off of my bike.
I don't think this day could get any worse, to be honest.
Boy, was I wrong about that. Because this was me 15 minutes later sitting next to a flat tire. It was really not a surprise, and I had been dreading this all day because so many paths were extremely bumpy. The weeks leading up to this moment were also really difficult, so I think it all just added up to me needing a good cry, honestly.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push my bike to the next city. I'm gonna sleep there and then I'll try to get a bus from there.
Because I had problems with the clip of the wheel, there was no way to fix the tube by myself. But I was pretty lucky that the next town with a hostel was not too far away. So I pushed my bike for 45 minutes until I finally made it to the hostel.
Yes, we close February 1st.
But I called and they said it was open.
I had a small heart attack, but it turned out that the right hostel was really close. The owner was really nice and gave me my first stamp for my pilgrim's pass. I had a much needed shower and I feel like I got at least a glimpse of what the Camino experience feels like, eating with the other pilgrims, and the food was actually really great. So after an exhausting day, I finally went to bed.
Good morning. I did not sleep a lot, but I now have a plan. So unfortunately, I don't think it makes sense to do the Camino. I would love to do it some other day, but with all the heavy luggage that I have and the bumpy road, I'm just gonna keep getting flat tires, so it doesn't make sense right now. So I will take a bus from here to Ponferrada, get my bike fixed there. Then I will take another bus from there to Vigo, and I was invited by a really nice family, so I'm really excited.
The first bus driver wouldn't let me get on the bus because I was traveling with an e-bike. Apparently there's a rule against that, so after 3 buses rejected me, I gave up and went back to the hostel. They were so kind to let me leave my bike there, so I grabbed a small bag and once again walked back to the bus station.
You know what? If it were easy, it wouldn't be an adventure, so.
and thank God I was able to get on the next bus. Next, I went to get a rental car, which I had to wait another 2 hours for, but now I was ready to drive another hour back to my bike to pick it up.
I'm now here back at the hostel where I left my bike. The owner said she would be here to help me get my bike into the car, but there's no one here. Fortunately, the door to the bike shed was open so I could get it. But now I'm somehow going to have to get the bike into the car and not scratch it.
So I put down a towel on the car and my fuzzy socks on the pedals, which I'm not gonna lie, I think is a great idea. And then I just tried to lift the bike in, and I actually got very lucky. It was such a big car because it was actually no problem getting it inside the car with a little bit of work. So after a very long day, I now had to do another 4-hour drive down to Vigo, where a very kind family had invited me. And then I could finally finish the day. That was my experience on the Camino. Now, I'm not sure if I'm qualified to give you advice if you want to do this, but from what I saw, I think it can be an amazing experience, but I don't think I would recommend doing it with an e-bike. At least not this part of the Camino, and not with this much heavy luggage, which I needed for a full year of traveling. I think the biggest problem is that if anything goes wrong, you are not able to take a bus into the next town with your e-bike. And getting a rental car was definitely not cheap. But maybe you are tougher than me, so don't let me discourage you if you want to give it a try. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can see the rest of my journey. Leave a comment and like this video. I publish videos every week.